No, not yet. LinkedIn says you're not approved for LinkedIn Live. It's only available for a limited group of, well, fine. Then
we won't do
does that mean that we're live? Oh, it does say we're live. Okay.
We're live.
My bad. I thought we didn't because I got this big red thing that says that.
Oh.
Okay. Remove that one from the broadcast. So
bye, LinkedIn.
Bye, LinkedIn. It was my personal one anyway. Okay, this is shaking. I'm gonna put my water on my chair squeaks down there.
I was laughing because that's a good idea. You should not have your next to your computer.
Well, as I'm talking, it's like shaking, and I don't want it to, or as I'm touching my laptop. Anyway, okay, so we are live. Hello, Facebook and YouTube. I'm Hillary. I am Hillary Van Ness. I'm the writer of Empath Uncovered, and we have been doing interviews with fellow empaths. However, yet again, there has been a change of plans. Also, before I continue, if anybody is watching live, I would really love to see if our comments work. And if you could let us know you're here and also let us know how the sound is. I appear to be a little delayed. And if it's enough of an issue, we will sign off and I will get on my phone instead. And I'll have to set that up, but I will do that. So just let us know. And I don't see anybody on now, so I might need to repeat that when the time comes. So this is the second time that we've had to not reschedule. I really didn't want to end it. Or reschedule. So when we've had to adjust and regroup because things change in the world, we have issues in the world and all of that. So the person we were going to interview today has a headache and is unable to make it. And so I was scrambling at the last minute trying to find somebody else, but I actually don't know that many empaths, so I don't have that many to pull on. And so MB came up with the idea that maybe we should read a scene or two or chapter or two, which is basically the same thing, from my novel, which is great, but also incredibly nerve-wracking. We gotta love. Is that you? Did you just love it?
No.
Oh, okay. Sweet. We have one viewer. Please let us know how the sound is. I know I might be a little delayed. If it's enough of an issue, we will close out and I will go on my phone and it should be better that way. But please comment first to see if we get comments. I'm supposed to, but we're on 2 different platforms, so please let me know. And yeah, so we're going to be reading. I'm going to be reading. You're just here for moral support, basically.
As you reading along silently.
Yeah. Yes. So we will be reading 2 scenes. I wasn't sure which scenes I wanted to do, and then I decided on chapter 8 and chapter 9. They're both short chapters, like, what is it, 2.5? No, hold on. I think it's 4.5 pages each. And they're like large writing too. Hey, it's Laura. And I do get comments. Okay, awesome. 1, 2, 3, 2, yeah, like 4.5, I think. So, and I am a writer, and I don't know if all writers are insecure, but this is my very first self-published book. And I never thought that I would be reading it to other people. So I'm very nervous.
You got this, girl. You got it.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate your support. And is the squeaking an issue? I'll lean back, but.
Now I hear it because.
Okay, cool. Oh, Laura, how's the sound before we start? I'm delayed, so is my delay enough of an issue to be a problem that I should start over, or is it okay enough? I can't wait for you to get your laptop so that I can do it on my laptop instead of my phone. I mean, I'm on my laptop now because I thought the person that we were going to be interviewing was going to be on her laptop, so I thought at least 2 going to the same thing were.
Yeah.
What did you say? We aren't technology, or we don't. We
are a technology problem or something?
We are technology problems is what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Technical issues. We are technical issues.
Yes. So chapter 8 is the gift of shame, and chapter 9 is grocery store defense. So it's not the very beginning, it's not the very end, it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the book, the writing is, whoop, dang it, everything is opposite. Okay. The writing is fairly large. So,
Easy to read.
Okay. Yay. Thank you. Sound is great. Delay is not too bad. Soind. SOIND. I love it. Autocorrect sucks. Okay. Okay. I hope, and hopefully I don't have an echo. I didn't feel like I had an echo last time either, but I just felt like I was louder. I mean, you don't talk much, but Angela was pretty quiet. So I just felt like I was really loud.
Well, that's a good thing to be loud for this because you're reading.
Yeah. Am I loud for you?
It's normal sounding like when we're usually on like the messenger video, so I think it's good.
Okay, cool. I'm going to try to get comfortable and not overthink things.
Perfect.
Dang it, it's always the opposite. Okay, I just need to. Okay. Okay. Chapter 8. Getting comfy. The gift of shame. And you haven't even read the book yet.
No, I haven't. I have my copy though. I'm glad.
Yeah. So baby steps, right?
So busy.
You were probably the last person to buy a book for me. It's been a week and I don't think anybody's bought one. So I don't know how else to, without spending money, get the word out there. So I would love for people to share and tell other friends about it, because you don't have to be an empath to read about it. It's more about raising awareness, and I mean, it's fiction, but still it comes from a real place.
Exactly.
Okay. A month or so later, Sapphire was again making the walk to her car after work. As she passed a construction site, the men began hooting and hollering about her looks. Although this didn't happen to her nearly as often as to some other women, today was not a good day for Sapphire. It had been a weird day already, so she was angry at everyone and pretty much everything. Sometimes a day of retail work and repeatedly dealing with stupid and obnoxious people had that effect on her. When that happened, the smallest thing could trigger her, and she just wanted to be left alone. Today, she didn't need anyone messing with her. "Hey, lovely, give me a smile," one of the construction workers said as Sapphire walked by them. Then, against the yelled advice of his buddies, walked over to Sapphire. "Hey, baby, didn't you hear me? Hey, honey!" Then he made the mistake of touching her left arm to attempt to turn her towards him. Her instincts kicked in before she realized it. The second he touched her arm, she grabbed his hand and twisted it until his palm was facing the sky. He gasped in pain and fell to his knees. Sapphire's eyes were a brilliant red as she looked down at him, watching him struggle. She experienced pleasure in watching him squirm. Looking him up and down before she spoke, Sapphire spat out, "Why don't you smile?" The men who had been staring in shock now came rushing toward him to help. Still holding his hand tightly in the painful position, Sapphire turned her eyes toward them, outstretched her free arm, and pushed against the air in front of her. Instantly, the three men went flying backwards into the air, hitting their backs on their trucks and lying, stunned, on the pavement where they landed. "Please, don't kill me. Don't hurt me. I'll never bother another woman on the street. Ever again," the man pleaded, causing Sapphire to turn back and look at him, still under her control, on the ground. Sapphire gazed at him intently. "How do I know you aren't just saying that to save your stupid skin?" Every word out of her mouth was slow and tight, clearly the sound of someone trying to control themselves. Each word was staccato, making it sound important, thought out, and designed to focus the attention on her. "I promise. Please, I promise. I've learned my lesson," whined the hapless victim, still writhing about in pain. Sapphire had no earthly idea what she was doing, but realized she felt more in control than she had felt in years, maybe more in control than she had ever felt in her entire life. So she continued to trust her instincts and did whatever they told her to do in this moment. "I am going to give you a gift," she spat out. What? What does that mean?" The fear in the man's brown eyes turned to terror. She continued, "My gift to you is shame." Sapphire, feeling him shaking in fear, smiled and placed her other hand on his chest. There is no excuse for you to treat any woman the way you just treated me. Women have to deal with such shit on a daily basis. She felt herself looking forward with anticipation. Oh, I just noticed a typo. That should have had quotes. um, she felt herself looking forward with anticipation of what was about to happen. Enjoy. Closing her eyes for the briefest of moments, Sapphire focused on the feeling of all the shame she had ever experienced in her life as a woman. The unfortunate man, still under her control, as his twisted palm remained in her hand, looked up at her in wonder as she opened her eyes again. She inhaled deeply and slowly as they opened, eyes flashing a brilliant deep green color. With an audible exhale, she pushed her energy into her hand and shoved hard against his chest. Gasping as if he couldn't breathe, she finally released his hand and took a step back. In that moment of release, Sapphire felt a huge amount of relief. A huge amount of shame lifted from her. Taking a couple of deep breaths, her eyes slowly faded, the intensity reduced back to their normal light green color. Looking around slowly, she took in the sight of the men strewn on the pavement near their trucks, as well as the man on his knees in front of her. She could clearly see him struggling with the emotion of what he was experiencing. In any other circumstance, Sapphire might have had more sympathy, even empathy for these men. A thought flitted through her mind as she turned and walked back to her car, like maybe she was giving the sad sap too much emotion to deal with at one time. But she quickly discarded that thought. She didn't regret a thing, and that worried her a bit as she reached the relative safety of her car and drove home, then called Angel. I'm going to skip this next part.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna skip the Angel Healy part. It's not. I don't need to read that. Thanks, Laura. I love that I have a live person. This is so great. Okay, so next chapters. Whew, I have to breathe.
Yeah.
I haven't read it out loud in a while, so I'm bummed that I just got tired and I wanted it to be published. So that page 45 should have had air quotes because she had stopped talking, and now there's description, but hopefully there's not too many of those. It's okay. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's my first one.
Published.
Yes, agreed. It's true. Okay, so grocery store defense, chapter 9. After arriving home from work, Sapphire went straight to her room. She thought she would try to see if she could access her powers and control them when she wasn't in the thick of it. That way, she would be able to know that she wasn't potentially dangerous to anyone. She sat down on her bed thinking she would start with anger since that was the most visceral emotion and might be the easiest to access. She closed her eyes and thought about what that normally felt like. She could remember the emotion, but with no one to bounce the feeling off of, nothing happened. She could emulate the emotion, but it was just a reflection and therefore powerless. The next day, she had plans with Dana to hang out. Dana showed up to Sapphire's apartment and they signed, catching up on each other's lives. Sapphire was explaining what happened with her and the construction workers. As she was expressing her emotion and feeling them again, her powers appeared. Dana pointed to Sapphire's eyes and signed red. Sapphire began to look around. Things in the room had begun to shake. As soon as Sapphire noticed it was happening, it stopped and her eyes went back to normal again. She looked at Dana. Weird. I tried to access the emotion yesterday. I wanted to see if I could control it so that no one needed to be afraid of me. I don't want to become scared of myself or what I can do either. But it didn't happen. So this means I only have my powers when I experience intense emotion, and most often that is around people. That is not good. Don't worry, we will figure this out. Somehow we will. I am here for you. I support you. Dana smiled, outstretched her arms, and they hugged. A few weeks passed. Sapphire was at the grocery store picking up a few things she needed for her apartment, trying to stay in her own world and block everyone and everything else out. She was second in line to check out and pay. In front of her was a man and his teenage daughter. The girl had long hair down to the middle of her back and was in long overalls with a tie-dyed shirt. Her father had light brown hair with and was a mouse of a man. He was thin, unassuming, a little under 6 feet, and looked like he could easily be taken down physically. The pair reminded Sapphire of her father and herself. She was trying to stay to herself and block out the world. She planned to collect what she needed and get out of the store as quickly as possible. However, she couldn't help but overhear the father speaking to his daughter. The girl was talking about how she was hungry. His response upset her. Sapphire could see that the girl was trying to keep it together since they were in a public place. He looked right at his daughter and laughed in surprise. Are you crying? Excuse me? Are you laughing at her being emotional because you said something hurtful? She stepped in between them and stood in front of the girl. I'm sorry, but who are you? He said, a bit taken aback by a stranger stepping in. I am someone who has been damaged from a father's words like yours. I didn't mean to laugh. I just couldn't believe that she would be upset over something so stupid. You are fucking kidding me, right? She found her voice getting louder as her eyes changed first to blue and then quickly to red and remained that way. The man stared at her in stunned silence, waiting for an explanation. The entire store shook when she yelled at him. The lights swung back and forth on the ceiling, and the ground underneath their feet rumbled. Sapphire took a couple deep breaths, and everything mellowed again. She then spoke to him once again. Customers' eyes were looking at the group, interested in watching the drama play out. Everything had stopped in the store as people watched the interaction. Just because you think something is stupid doesn't mean that it is in fact stupid. Anything and everything this beautiful girl is feeling is valid. And it is because of men like you that we as women feel unsafe to fully express ourselves in the world. When we do express ourselves in all our glory, we are still viewed as too much, oversensitive, or overdramatic. When in reality, we are just reacting to the messed up world around us. Oh, and just a word of advice for you in the future. When you see a woman, or anyone for that matter, becoming emotional over something, never laugh at them. You will destroy that relationship. What you did just then is a form of emotional abuse. Even though the world doesn't view that as nearly as bad as physical abuse, I disagree. They are both bad. Being a teenager is hard enough without having to deal with shitty family members. She turned around to the girl then, held her shoulders, looking deep into her eyes, and spoke to her directly. You have a beautiful soul. You are strong and resilient. You are enough. I see you. I hear you. And I love you. You deserve to be treated better by the world. I hope you won't let people like him harden you from how brilliant and magnificent a being you are, and how you will become even better with age. The girl looked at Sapphire in shock and then couldn't hold it together anymore. She broke down and started crying. Sapphire put her arms around the girl and hugged her tightly, while the father behind her shifted uncomfortably back and forth on his feet, feeling all the stares on them. The store was quiet. People had poked their heads out of aisles to see what the commotion was about and then stayed to watch. Some people had even taken out their phones and videoed what was going on. Sapphire didn't notice because it was so important to her to speak up, and someone needed to say something. It needed to have attention called to it. She removed herself from the line and went to self-checkout. People continued to watch her, but mostly went back to what they had been doing before she called the man out. The man remained silent along with the girl as he finished paying and they left the store. I didn't think about that chapter. Got a little emotional.
I love it. Terrific.
Thank you. Yeah, first time you've heard it, maybe, because I do send snippets to people before I finish my novel. Yeah, it's supposed to be a movie. If anybody has good screenwriters that are willing to collaborate with me, because I definitely need to have input, I'm looking. I have had 1 or 2 offers, but it just didn't feel right. So, and that's, partly what being an empath is about. I have to go with what feels right, because when I don't, I get into shitty situations. Move this a little. But yeah, no, I agree. I really want this. That's the plan. This is going to be a mini series on YouTube. my goal. I don't know how long. I prefer at least 30 minutes. And yeah, so I just need to get a screenwriter, and then after that, I had wanted to like, I've written it. I wouldn't do the screenplay, but I've written the novel, and then I wanted to direct it and be the star in it. And then I realized that's too much to take on for my very first like thing. So I definitely would want to have a female director who gets it, and I feel comfortable with kind of giving it up to that person, and trust that they know my vision and what's going on, and that they would come to me if they had questions, and I could still give my input and stuff. And I would hope, like, I've thought about this a lot, and I would like to be involved in the casting and basically have the, so I want to be very, very involved. So that's why I say, like, when I want to screenwriter, I want to be able to collaborate, because it's my first thing. So and I'm pretty open. I try not to be closed-minded. There's only a couple of scenes that I actually see a very specific way, and they need to be right. But yeah, so I'd like to be open, but I'm very much like, I'm gonna be the star because that's the selfish part of initially writing this, was because I'm not getting cast in things, so I might as well write something that's been in my head for years and didn't work until now. Yes, I agree. This chapter really drives home how some parents invalidate their children's feelings. Yes, I would very much agree with that. So yeah, I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm going to share this more, and then hopefully that'll get people interested, because for a couple of times I got sucked back into it reading it out loud. So
Hey!
Yeah. What did you think first time hearing both chapters? What did you think first time hearing both chapters?
I wanted to keep going and read the rest of the story.
Yes. That's why people are like, you need to do that, because then it'll bring people in, and then they'll want to buy the book. And yeah. I mean, you've already bought the book, but that was more of like a support thing.
Well, I am going to read it eventually. It's just life's been insane.
Yeah. No, I understand. That's why we haven't talked in 2 weeks. Well, this way. We haven't talked this way in 2 weeks.
Video, yeah.
We're always talking, but okay. After all that reading.
Yes, take a drink.
Okay. Well, that was really the plan, all the plan. I mean, I could read more, but I'm gonna leave you wanting more, because the sign language, it starts off with sign language and the deaf best friend and all of that. So that's who Dana is. But I haven't been advertising that, and I haven't had any deaf person I know read it and give me like the okay. So I'm kind of terrified to go on Facebook and advertise it to the deaf groups deaf groups I'm a part of. So if there's any deaf person who reads it and thinks that it's good. I did have somebody call me, a family friend, my sister's friend, but basically family friend. And she said, because she also has worked with deaf people and knows sign language and all of that stuff. And she said it felt very real, and it reminded her of her experience and stuff. So that was nice. Well, I mean, because that's when you go to your very first, well, not first, but when I was going through the program, you have to go to a deaf event, and you have to write down something that you've learned, and then what your experience was like, and the type of people you met. You write like a paragraph, and they go it happens every month. And so, it's been a while, but I remembered enough to write it.
Good.
And Laura, yes, I have. Okay, she asked can you see the comments, or can only I see the comments? Okay, that's good to know. Well, it is on my platforms too, so that makes sense.
Exactly.
So she asked if I'm currently writing my next book, and the answer is yes, because this one is left on a cliffhanger. So, because it's the prequel. It's like the origin, not prequel. It's the origin story. So she's finding out that she has powers and then learning what to do. Like typically people write the novel and then they do the like, oh, this is what happened before she was really who she became. And I'm not doing that. I had to get this book out of the way so that I could write the book that I had initially intended to start off writing. And so that one, I had the title before I even started writing it. And that one's going to be Empath Empowered. And I think I have like 15 scenes that I've written. And then last night, something is starting to take over of a different story that has nothing to do with this. So I was brainstorming for that one last night. It does have, of course, I think the trend in what I'm going to be writing, at least for these novels and the next one that I'm brainstorming, have to do a lot with feeling. The next one's about aliens, but it's all about aliens and the earth, but it's all about feelings. And the aliens are feeling creatures. So, yeah. And that's very interesting because it was like, and I did post this on the Empath page that I'm for my novel. And that its motivation is very different. So like I was motivated to, brainstorm for that. I wasn't motivated to work on this one. And then I'll have like a dream and I'll be like, okay, I have to add that scene into there. So, and my writing, I guess we're just going to talk about writing because of we read and now I'll talk about writing. But my writing process for both is very different. So the first one, I was working at a retail job and I was at a candy store and I was it's a pop-up, or was a pop-up before COVID. And so I would do all my work and then I'd have a lot of downtime just waiting for customers to come in. And I could be on the laptop. So I had a lot of free time. And so I would just write while I was at work. And then I'd have crappy experiences with men on the street in my 20-minute walk back to my car. It's not free parking, but it was discounted parking in the city. And so some of the experiences in the novel are real. They actually happened to me with shitty men. And the ones that she has powers did not happen. But the ones, where she uses her powers are the ones where that didn't happen. But the ones where she didn't have her powers or they didn't appear or whatever, all of those have actually happened to me. And it was kind of cool to have that motivation. I was like, oh, I have a shitty experience, then I get to write it. I get to put it in. There is one in the next novel that happened to me in person. And I was like, what would I do? So I was working at the main store at that point, and it happened. And it was like right before closing. And I was by myself and it's dark. And so he finally left, and then I closed up and I left, and I spent the 20-minute walk to my car thinking about what I would have liked to do to him if I had powers, like how I could have dealt with it and what I would have done. And so then that was, I think, probably the very first scene I ever wrote for the next one. And so that was kind of cool. And then, so I wrote a lot for the first one when I was at work. And then for the next one, COVID happened and I self-published. And so it's like, I wrote in consecutive order for the first one, except one time when I wrote a random scene and it just fit in later. Somehow it like presented itself to me in a way that it worked. This time I'm just writing random scenes. I don't know exactly what order they're going to be in. I don't know when I'm going to figure it out. They kind of seem like they could be consecutive already. I wrote them out of consecutive order last night. But now I'm like, oh, but they could, like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I think this time I'm going to have to like get little note cards, write the title or whatever makes me think of the chapter, which is kind of what I did with this one. This was like, what's in this chapter? What will make me remember what's going on in this chapter? And that's how I titled them, sometimes a little creatively and sometimes just like the character's name. Because I was like, oh, this chapter is about this person. Yeah, so some of them I didn't take a lot of thought, and then others I did. I was like, "Oh, this is creative. Like Stranger Danger is a great title for a chapter, and it makes sense and it works." So I didn't read that one, but I thought about it. So I know, losing my train of thought. Writing process. So yeah, so with the new one, I want to put like note cards and have the title or whatever on of the scenes, which my scenes are basically chapters. It's kind of what they've become for me.
Yeah.
And then maybe lay them all out on the floor and um, and then try to arrange them in ways like, oh, this might be one way it could be, or maybe if I move this here and maybe do it that way. But it's interesting to have them be so different, like consecutive order, and now all over the place. Like I don't really, it could work, it could not. I don't know. But I don't know that I necessarily need, I might need transitions into each chapter, but a lot of times it could just be like, oh, that scene's over. Now we're in a new chapter. So it might just be like I need an order as opposed to like trying to connect it. Although I think I did go back and rewrite a scene because I was like, "Ooh, I like if I add that and then it comes back later."
Yeah.
So it's just like a jacket. Oh, if the jacket's there and then she remembers the jacket from the scene over there, and then like that, maybe that'll work, and maybe other people will make the connection before it's explained. And like,
I love those little hidden gems. Like that makes you think about it. I love
yeah,
it. I'm
yeah.
excited.
And I think I was talking to you recently where I was like, oh, I was gonna do this, but I feel like I spoon, and I don't mean this bad to the readers, but I feel like I've been spoon feeding it a lot. Whereas, like, okay, I have to say this because then this is going to happen, as opposed to just having it happen and be a surprise.
Yeah.
So I had written a little bit of a scene, and then like the very beginning of it, I just deleted because I was like, oh, you don't need to know who's coming up. It'll be more of a surprise if it's just like this random person that you have no information about is just there now. And then you learn who they are.
Yeah. Yep. I remember
So,
you telling me that now.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did like that it was a surprise. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote the beginning of the scene that I ended up not using. I haven't actually deleted it, but, that I'm not going to use. I think I made it all red though, because I'm like, probably going to delete it. And yeah, I was either like, okay, so they're going to talk about this person who's going to show up, or and they've somebody else has interacted with her, but they haven't told Sapphire. But maybe it's just like, I liked my first novel, but at the same time, it's never going to be the way it is in my head. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be, and a lot of times it's like I can't even decide. It could go a couple of different ways, and so I just sit down and I start to write it, and one of the versions comes, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, that's fine, but it's still not like that's exactly what I was thinking, and now it's on the page.
Yeah.
And that's probably with the recent scene I've realized that. The recent scene I've written, I realized that. So I was just like, okay, it's never going to be perfect. I know that. I just need to get over it. But it would be nice if even just one moment I was like, oh my God, that's exactly like how I think that construction scene, that's one of the things I would definitely need to collaborate with the screenwriter because I have a vision. And when I say that, I close my eyes and I see nothing. I still have a vision because that's the word you use. I know what I want it to look like. I know like down to I had to think about, okay, if he comes on this side, then am I using this hand or am I using this? Like took that much consideration. It took me a while to be like, and then I'd go back and I'd look at it and does that still work? And then her side would be to the construction workers over there. So I just have to trust that whatever I had written works. But it was like I took so much consideration into that. So that's why I want a collaborator who's open and willing. Like I would never bash what they do or say like that sucks because that's not the kind of person I am. But I would be like, I was thinking more this, or my vision was more, can you add this? There's something in that first novel that is not written that I want in the TV series with the villain, and it's just you can't write it. You have to see it, and you won't even see it the very first time you watch it. It's something that you would have to pay attention to, and then it turns maybe into like a little Easter egg, and only some people will notice it, and so it's like that's something that I would need to talk to a screenwriter about. Be like, okay, this is not in the novel, or like it's all from her perspective, but I thought about writing a scene from Leo's perspective with Geo seeing something happen to Sapphire, but she in the novel it's from her perspective, so you don't get to see them in her, so it's like telling the screenwriter, this is what I was thinking was happening on the other side of this, but we don't get to see it in the novel. So it's just like, because it's hard for me also to do the whole like, okay, this is Sapphire's perspective, now we're moving on to this other person's perspective, and it just gets confusing and muddled for me. I like to keep it consistent, and because I always knew and wanted it to be on film, let's just say it that way, I knew that it would be very round. You'd be able to see all aspects of it. So yeah. I feel like I'm talking too much, but it is all about, my novel.
The novel. I wasn't really part of the process, except you send me some random scenes, and I'm like, how is this all working together? Because I couldn't connect it, because it was also kind of like, oh, I wrote this, and then 2 months later, oh, I wrote this, and I'm like, I don't even remember what you wrote me the last time.
That's good though, because when you read it, it'll either be a refresher or it'll be like, oh.
I know, it's like
a refresher or something new.
Yeah, when we were reading in chapter 9, I'm like, oh, she sent me this part. I remember this bit.
Yeah, tiny bit of a refresher. Yeah, so that's part of me, I don't want to send it to you too often because I want you to be able to enjoy it when it comes out, but it's like I want that positive feedback, and you're so supportive, and pretty much every time I send it to you or this girl Jennifer or Angie, it's always like, yes, this is so good.
Well, I usually forget it until I read it again, so that's also the positive part of sending it to me.
Yeah,
I won't remember it.
The brain out the other until it comes back, and you're like, this is familiar.
Exactly. It's like, oh wait, I've read that before.
Yeah,
I remember this part, and I love it.
Yeah, I do love it. I was like, it's like, well, and then I'm like, okay, you like it, but what do you like about it? Like, can you give me more information? Yeah. Instead of just yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Because this, and that happened, and then this feels like that. Kind of a thing. I'll try to be more not critical. What's the word? Nope, I don't got it. It's good. That word has been eliminated from my vocabulary for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with anything either. Because critical is more like negative. Positive feedback is kind of what I like to use. But maybe more specific. Is that a word that you were looking for?
That wasn't the word I was looking for, but that works. Oh, nope, it's literally, it's gone. It's gone.
Bye.
See you later, word. Maybe never.
I thought you were really important. I'd like you to come back.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm actually happy with this. I'm going to share it with I feel like I'm slouching, but it's just this chair. It makes me look like I'm slouching.
Your amazing throne of a chair.
Yes, until I get my lazy boy on Monday. Although this is going to be the guest chair, so I get the lazy boy, and then if anybody ever visits me, if COVID stops at some point, but yeah, it'll also give me more space, and then I can organize. My room is a mess. That's why I'm not in there, because I was like, anybody need a couch? Because we're trying to give away a free couch. It's on my sister's driveway right now, so I feel like posted on Facebook, I posted on Instagram, I posted it on next door. Nothing.
Really?
So, yeah. Although my mom said I have to keep checking next door or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I've never used that, so.
My first time. Okay, so I found Nextdoor before I realized it was like a legit thing, and then they wanted to text me or call me or something, and I was like, "Ooh, this seems sketch."
Right?
And then, and now it's like a legit, real thing that everybody uses. So this is my first time actually trying to get on it. And it's like, homeless person was beat up. I'm like, I don't need to know that.
Oh, that's scary.
And I'm getting a lot of notifications of things that are, oh, look who just got back to me. Oh, driving down to Kentucky. Everybody's driving far places right now. Oh, wow. Lots of people.
Like,
Okay.
it is Thanksgiving next week, so that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's a good thing we're not doing it next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody was available anyway, so it's fine. It was just like a couple of people who were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was napping, or I was driving to Kentucky, or somebody else was driving someplace else. I don't remember where."
Mm. Well, I mean, this worked out. What the hell did I just do?
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting my hair on the 2nd. So yeah, it's coming up for me too. It's not too bad, but it's really thick, and then it starts to get into my eyes, and it's a problem. So I start doing what you're doing when nobody's here to see me. So, but you have longer hair, so it's not as difficult. It's like I have to do I'm like spiraling it and then connecting each to the next spiral, and then I clip it.
Yeah, this is what I do when I want to look somewhat presentable, or when I'm alone, I usually wear a hat or have a little ponytail that goes whoop.
Oh, right. That's a good. I either do hats or I do headbands a lot with short hair now too, because I can just like put it back and then it's out of my face. But then when I do, it's like sticking up back here. It looks like my hair is really short, but it's really thick, and I think you have the same thing. So it's just, I do not have thin hair. I could donate it, but it every time it would get to like here, it stops growing, or it grows like at a snail's pace, and so I would need to get it to like here, and it drives me crazy. It breaks hair ties, and
oh my gosh, yes. Oh
yeah, that's why we do short hair now. And I'm lazy. I have not brushed my hair. I did it with wrong way. I did it with my fingers, and it's basically like a brush. So
yeah. No, I even got like the hair ties for like thick hair, and they still broke.
yep.
What?
Well, they're not elastic enough because they're too thick. So then you're trying to like twist it, and yeah, I remember. I do not miss it.
Nope.
And then once I cut it really short at one point, when it gets longer, I would have to like flip it up when I would go to bed because I didn't like anything touching my neck.
Yes. I would usually like braid it on the side because it less knots in the morning, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I like honesty. We should probably end this now that we're just talking about hair.
The usual randomness has come out to play.
That's okay. Well, it's like I have difficulty ending lives and stuff because it's awkward or whatever. So, but Laura apparently is still watching because it's still one person. She's watched the entire time. I really appreciate it. Yes, she's awesome. Okay. Well, then I'm in charge. I am happy that we can get comments. Well, I guess I can get comments.
You get comments.
It's good for me to know so that I'm the one that has to pay attention, which I probably would be anyway, the one paying attention. I was thinking it might be good in the future if you were in charge of the comments because I do so much talking that then you could just be like reading the comments. But
yeah, I don't think
that means you have to do StreamYard.
Wait, I see them now. I have to go on a different screen though.
Oh, okay. It might be different when you have your laptop because when you have your laptop, I don't have it full screen. It's just like us, and then like on the side over here, it's all the comments, and we can do like banners and stuff. And I hope this one has captions again because it never shows up when we're doing it.
Right, but then when we go to Facebook later, it's like boom.
And I'm pretty sure YouTube Live does, which is what this should be on as well, does the live captions. And sorry, that was me responding to her next. That was fun. This was fun. Thanks.
I see it. Yay. Okay, now I know where it is, so I can help next time.
Yay! I mean, there's not enough comments at this point in time that it's an issue, but if and when, I'm hoping that, more people will start wanting to watch, or we might get people we don't even know and stuff like that. So that would be cool.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, I will see you still, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else. And thank you for Laura for watching live. It's our very first live person the entire time. I almost feel like we should bring her in. She get, hi, Laura, bye. And then thank you to everybody watching later. And please share and like with other people and buy my novel so that I can get some more residual money. It's not why I wrote the novel, I promise, but it's like would be a perk for all my hard work. So and I wrote it because it's important. I feel like it has good messages in it with narcissistic parents and stuff that, raising awareness with deaf parents not learning sign language and, certain things like that. I can't remember because I haven't reread it recently. But that was one of the things that pulled me to writing it. Like, okay, so I had initially just wanted to write a story, like just to tell somebody else my story, or not my story, but tell somebody the story that I have that I wanted to write, and then have them just convert it into a screenplay. So I didn't have to do the whole like middleman thing. Mm-hmm. And then as I was writing it, it turned into a story. And then it turned into like, this is bigger than me. This is more important than me. This is not just about me getting a role as a character because that's my passion and that's what I want to be doing with my life. It's the only thing I've ever felt that passion towards. I enjoy writing, but I'm passionate about acting. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it presented itself to me and I was like, okay, well, I guess this is now a novel. and then I was like, and then it'll just be done and all right. And then it turned into like, oh no, this is the first novel. And then you're going to do another one. So I don't know how many of the novels these are going to be, but right now it's feeling like 2, maybe 3, but that's a big maybe. And I won't know until I finish my this next one. Because once I'm done with that, if things keep coming then into my brain, then I'll know. But yeah, it's like I'm kind of just taking things as they come and like going with the flow. So, but yeah. Yay. I hate that I say but yeah so often. And so it's when I'm thinking. I think that's everything. It's a lot about writing. So now we don't even have to do the writing questions unless we get writers on. I think it's maybe more important for me to have empaths on, but yeah, because it was always like an empath with the added writer. It's like you're an empath and a writer. Yeah. But that's just, I don't know. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it was important, which I said in the last video, and I'll probably repeat all the time.
Well, that's why we're both doing it, is because we think it's important.
Yes. And I appreciate, as I've said before, your enthusiasm, because that makes it more real to me too. Because I always have all these ideas and people don't typically get super excited and on board with me. They're like, oh, that's good. You should do that. But I tell you and you're like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, would you want to be involved? You're like, yeah. So it's just like, of course. I need more enthusiastic friends in my life like you. So the end of all of these will just be me raving about how much I love you. I love you. I could have done all of this by myself. I like this. I appreciate the support because, yeah. Okay. Okay, this time I'm actually going to end it. Wait, sorry, what?
I think that's a good note to end the live on.
Yeah. Silly. Okay. Exactly. Just so housekeeping stuff before I forget. Not next week. So are planning on doing these every other week unless we keep running into issues, but then I guess I'll just end up reading my entire novel. Then you will have to buy it. So that's not going to happen. But these are going to be every other week. And so it won't be next week, which is perfect because that's basically Thanksgiving. That might be planned and I don't even realize it. And then the week after that should be December 5th. And I have a specific person, female, that I am planning on having, but she wouldn't commit unless I had a backup. So I have a male backup. And he wasn't able to be my backup today, but it was very last. And I feel like this is better. So, gosh, it's the wrong side. I keep trying to okay.
It's backwards.
I keep adjusting the wrong side. Yeah. So December 5th, it'll either be a female or a male. I'm hoping it'll be the female. And then if it's not, if I don't need the backup for that day, then he will be not the week after that, but the week after that. And I don't know the date. I think it's the 19th. I think it's December 19th, if I remember right, but I don't know. Oh, are you looking?
I'm looking because I don't remember what that is either. Yes, the 19th.
Yay. I only remember because I was trying to remember what I told him. So I think I told him. And I really want him to be our first guy. So yeah. So if he's not here next week, so basically, so many so's, it will be, I will announce who, not like anybody would necessarily know who they are, but I will announce the specific name the day of, and that might still change even the day of. I don't want to say the name now or until then because, yeah, they wouldn't commit because they were they were afraid. Stupid. I don't want my bra to be showing. So yeah, they wouldn't commit unless I had a backup person, and I already had a backup person before. I was like, I'm putting you down for December 5th. So she was like, okay. When you have a husband and 2 kids, it's just like you can't commit. And so I try to be understanding about it. Anyways, that is the plan. So none next week, but the week after December 5th, we will have somebody, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Or we'll read some more chapters, but not the whole book.
Not the whole book. And I try to plan as much as I can whenever I can. It makes me feel safer and comfortable. So I did really try to find somebody to replace today, and maybe she can come back a different day if she wants. But I know that she has other stuff happening in the next coming weeks, and there might be recovery time. So I don't really know.
We'll see.
Yeah. And we might have Angela back because we didn't, I felt like we kind of had to cut it. And then she didn't even really get to talk about her writing. So, yeah, it was all about Empath, but it was great. And so
amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. We didn't even have to ask her questions because she was all over it.
100%.
Yeah. Cause it could be a conversation until it's like, if somebody's really nervous or not as comfortable on screen or whatever. And, I feel like the questions are a good fallback for sure. We could start with that, or we would just feel out each person to see what's the best. Because I still was able to ask some of my questions, even though I wasn't looking at them. And yeah, so I felt like there was something else I was going to say in regards to that. Bye. Bye, thought. I've done heavy labor and other stuff today, so I am tired. Okay, so we will see you on December 5th, and I might add LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, because that didn't work. I might add Instagram. I don't know how. I'm still learning all of this stuff, but I think you can do lives, and it doesn't matter how long they are on Instagram. So if it lets me do that, I'll do that. If not, it'll just be Facebook and YouTube. But I'm really happy that I have my YouTube channel up. It would be great if I had all of the information to give you for the people who don't follow me.
Totally forgot to subscribe to you already. I'm sorry.
Well, I had to wait 24 hours and then it was, now all the stuff should be up. And then this is great because I don't have to download it. It should already just go right, I think, because it was live. But I'll have to figure that out as well. So I will see everybody December 5th at 2:30. Same time, same place. I was going to do the bat location thing, but I don't know that well enough to same bat time, same bat. I don't know.
Same bat time, same bat channel, but well, I guess technically the page is a channel. So that could work.
Well, YouTube is a channel. So I feel like we've lost Laura now. So I feel like we should go.
We should have ended already.
Okay, I'm just going to say goodbye and then you'll still be here. So, okay. Bye, everybody. We will talk on December 5th at 2:30. Bye.